"Stop ruining my night," the Mafia boss said. Then his wife took her last breath. It breathed, slow and heavy, under a sky painted with smoke and pale lights. Tall buildings stood like silent guards, watching every secret and sin. At the center of it all lived Lucien Moretti, a man people feared more than storms and darkness. Some called him a mafia boss. Others whispered that he was something worse. Lucien ruled the city without mercy. His name alone could stop wars, erase enemies, and bend powerful men to their knees. No one questioned him. No one challenged him. Power followed him like a shadow that never left. But inside his great stone mansion, behind iron gates and long halls, there was one person who did not fear him, his wife. Elena Moretti stood alone near the tall window of their bedroom. The city lights reflected softly in her tired eyes. Her hands rested on the cold glass, as if she needed its strength to remain standing. She had been unwell for days. Her breath came slow and shallow, and her chest felt heavy, as though something unseen pressed against her heart. The doctors had warned her to rest, but Elena had learned long ago that her pain was never a priority in this house. Tonight was important to Lucien. Tonight rival families would gather. Deals would be made. Power would be proven. Lucien would sit at the head of the table like a king carved from stone. Elena turned as the door opened. Lucien entered the room, dressed in black. His presence filled the space instantly. Sharp, controlled, dangerous. He adjusted his cufflinks, his mind already far from her. "Elena," he said without warmth, "you should be resting." She gave a small, tired smile. "I am resting." He did not look at her. "The guests will arrive soon." Silence stretched between them. Elena watched him carefully. Once, she used to admire the way he carried himself. Once, she believed she could reach the man behind the power. But over time, that man had vanished, buried under ambition and darkness. "Lucien," she said softly, "can you stay tonight?" He paused, finally turning to her. His expression tightened, not with worry, but irritation. "This is not the time," he replied. Her fingers curled slightly. "I don't feel well. I feel like something is wrong. Doctors have already seen you. That was days ago. I have responsibilities." Elena stepped closer, her movements weak but determined. "Just for a little while. Sit with me. Talk to me." Lucien's jaw hardened. "You know how important this night is." She lowered her voice. "Am I not important?" For a moment, something flickered in his eyes, something almost human. But it vanished just as quickly. "You're ruining my focus," he said sharply. Those words cut deeper than any blade. "I'm your wife," Elena whispered. "And I am the head of this family," Lucien replied. "Stop ruining my night." The room fell silent. Elena felt as if the air had been pulled from her lungs. She took a step back, her hand pressing against her chest. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words refused to come. Lucien turned away, already done with the conversation. "Rest," he said coldly. "We will talk later." He left the room. The door closed with a quiet final sound. Elena stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space he left behind. Her heart ached, not only with pain, but with loneliness deeper than any illness. She slowly lowered herself onto the bed. Around her, the mansion felt different. The shadows along the wall seemed to stretch longer, darker. The air grew colder. A strange silence wrapped around the room, heavy and washing. Elena closed her eyes. Memories came uninvited. She remembered the day she met Lucien, how he had looked at her as if she were light in a world he had forgotten. She remembered believing that love could change fate. She had been wrong. Her breathing grew weaker. Far below, music began to play. Laughter filled the grand hall. Glasses clinked. Power gathered. Lucien stood among powerful men, his voice calm and commanding. He gave orders. He smiled when needed. He never once thought of the woman upstairs. Not until a sudden chill ran through him. Lucian paused mid-sentence. Something felt wrong. The lights above flickered briefly. He frowned, annoyed. "Continue," he said. But unease settled in his chest. Upstairs, Elena's hands trembled. Her vision blurred. The walls seemed to breathe, pulsing with a strange rhythm. "Elena," a soft voice whispered. She turned her head, but no one was there. Tears slid down her cheeks. "Lucian," she murmured, though she knew he could not hear her. Her breath caught. Pain spread through her chest, sharp and unforgiving. She gasped, clutching the sheets as her strength faded. In her final moments, Elena did not think of anger. She thought of hope. She thought of the man Lucian once was, the man she loved, the man who never came back. Her breathing slowed, then stopped. The moment her heart fell silent, the mansion shuddered. Across the city, lights flickered. Dogs howled. Windows cracked. A deep, unseen force stirred beneath the streets, ancient and awake. Lucian staggered suddenly, gripping the edge of the table. "What is this?" someone asked. Lucian said nothing. His chest burned, as if something inside him had broken. A servant ran into the hall, face pale with terror. "Sir," the servant whispered, shaking. It's your wife." Lucian's world stopped. He pushed past everyone, his steps fast, his heart pounding for the first time in years. He climbed the stairs 2 at a time, ignoring the voices calling his name. The bedroom door stood open. Elena lay still on the bed, her face peaceful, her eyes closed. Too peaceful. Lucian approached slowly. "Elena?" he said. No response. He reached for her hand. It was cold. For the first time in his life, fear crushed him. "Elena!" he shouted. Nothing. The silence answered him. Outside, thunder rolled without clouds. And deep in the shadows of the world, something smiled. Lucian stood beside the bed, staring at Elena's still face. Her expression was calm, almost gentle, as if she were sleeping. But he knew the truth. The silence around her was final, heavy, unforgiving. He reached for her again, gripping her hand tighter this time. "Elena," he said, his voice low and rough. "This is not funny." No answer. A strange pressure filled his chest. It was not pain. Lucian had known pain all his life. This was something worse. This was loss. Servants gathered at the doorway, afraid to step inside. No one spoke. No one breathed too loudly. Lucian slowly straightened. His face became unreadable, as if stone had replaced flesh. "Leave," he said. No one questioned him. The room emptied at once. Lucian remained alone with her. For a long time he said nothing. He did nothing. He simply stood there, listening to the silence that had replaced her breath. Memories began to rise without warning. Elena sitting in the garden, reading quietly. Elena waiting for him at night. Elena smiling even when he did not return her warmth. He had believed she would always be there. That belief shattered now. Lucian turned away sharply. "Get a doctor," he ordered into the empty room, as if someone might still hear him. No one came. The lights flickered again. Lucian froze. The shadows in the corners of the room moved, slowly, unnaturally. The air grew thick, hard to breathe. "This is nonsense," he muttered. But deep down, fear began to rise. Lucian had ruled the city for years. He had crushed enemies, survived betrayals, and escaped death more times than he could count. But this feeling, this sense that something unseen was watching him, was new. A soft sound reached his ears. Not footsteps. A whisper. "Elena." Lucian turned quickly. No one stood behind him. The bed was empty. His heart stopped. He rushed forward, his eyes wide. The sheets were cold, untouched. Elena was gone. "What trick is this?" he demanded. The door creaked open. An old woman stood in the doorway. Lucian had not heard her enter. She was dressed in dark cloth, her hair silver, her eyes sharp and knowing. She leaned on a simple wooden cane. "Do not shout," she said calmly. "The dead do not like noise." Lucian's hand moved toward his weapon out of instinct. "Who are you?" "A keeper," the woman replied. "A watcher of broken promises." Lucian stepped closer. "Where is my wife?" The woman studied him for a long moment. Between worlds. His blood ran cold. "Explain." "She did not leave peacefully," the woman said. Her heart carried sorrow. Her last breath was filled with regret. Lucian clenched his fists. "She was ill." "No," the woman corrected. "She was neglected." The words struck him like a blow. "You are careful with your words," Lucian warned. The woman smiled faintly. "Power does not frighten me, Lucien Moretti. I have seen kings fall to dust." Lucian's voice lowered. "You speak as if you know me." "I know what you are," she replied. "And what you have awakened." Lucian frowned. "Awakened?" The woman tapped her cane against the floor. At once the room darkened further. The walls seemed farther away. The air trembled. "Elena was not ordinary," she said. Her blood carried an ancient bond, a bond tied to the veil, the line between life and death. Lucian stared at her. "That is impossible." "Is it?" she asked. "You live in a world of shadows and secrets, yet you deny what you cannot control." Lucian remained silent. "She loved you," the woman continued. "Her love was strong enough to protect you, but neglect turned love into sorrow, and sorrow has power." Lucian felt something twist inside him. "What does this mean?" he asked. "It means her soul could not rest," the woman replied. "It means a curse has begun." Lucian's eyes darkened. "Curses are stories to scare children." The woman lifted her cane again. The room shook violently. Outside, a distant scream echoed through the mansion. Lucian rushed to the window. Below, chaos spread. Lights burst. Guards shouted. The iron gates groaned as if pulled by invisible hands. "This city is bound to you," the woman said quietly. "And you are bound to her." Lucian turned back. "End this." "You cannot command what you broke," she said. "Only sacrifice can mend it." Lucian's jaw tightened. "What sacrifice?" The woman met his gaze. "Your power, your throne, or your soul." Silence followed. Lucian laughed once, sharp and humorless. "You expect me to give up everything for a woman who is already gone?" "She is not gone," the woman corrected. "She waits." Lucian's laughter faded. "Where?" he asked. "Beyond the veil," she said, "in a realm shaped by regret." Lucian took a slow breath. "And if I do nothing?" The woman's eyes darkened. "Then the curse will feed on your empire. Your allies will fall. Your enemies will rise. And when the city is ashes, her soul will fade forever." Outside, thunder rolled again. For the first time, his power felt useless. He had built his life on control, on fear, on strength. And now, none of it could save the one thing he had ignored. "How do I reach her?" he asked finally. The woman's expression softened slightly. "By walking the path you never chose." She stepped aside, revealing a dark doorway that had not been there before. Cold wind poured from it, carrying whispers and sorrow. "Once you enter," she warned, "you may not return as the man you are." Lucian stared at the darkness. Images filled his mind, his throne, his enemies, his name spoken with fear. Then Elena's face appeared, quiet, patient, waiting. Lucian removed his ring and placed it on the table. "Prepare the city," he said. "I am leaving." The woman nodded. "Then the true test begins." Lucian stepped toward the dark doorway. Behind him the mansion groaned as if alive. Ahead of him the unknown waited. And somewhere between life and death, Elena opened her eyes. The city he knew, with its iron gates, streets, and tall towers, disappeared. In its place stretched a gray wasteland. filled with shadows that moved without bodies. The sky was thick with swirling mist, and a cold wind carried whispers he could not understand. He reached for the power he had relied on all his life, his influence, his control, his fear, but none of it followed him here. The strength that had made kings and criminals tremble was gone. Here, he was just a man, and fear was all he had. For the first time, Lucien understood what it meant to be powerless. He walked slowly, his eyes scanning the shifting landscape. Shapes twisted in the mist, faces, forms, half-seen creatures that whispered regret and sorrow. He realized the old woman had not exaggerated. This realm was alive, and it fed on pain. "Elena!" he shouted, his voice cracking. The wind answered him with hollow laughter. Shadows twisted around him, forming vague shapes of people he had wronged, enemies he had crushed, allies he had betrayed. Each one whispered, reminding him of the cost of ambition. "I don't care about them," he shouted. "I'm here for Elena." The shadows paused, then laughed softly, echoing around him. Finally, a figure appeared ahead, a woman shrouded in gray mist. Lucien's heart stopped. "Elena," he whispered. She turned slowly. Her face was pale, her eyes deep pools of sorrow. Her hair floated around her as if underwater. She looked both real and unreal, part of this world and part of another. "Elena," he said again, stepping forward. "I'm here. I will bring you back." She did not move. Her gaze did not soften. "You," she said, her voice echoing strangely. "You left me alone. You ignored me." Lucien swallowed hard. "I know. I was wrong. I was blind. I am sorry. Please, forgive me." Her expression wavered for a moment, then hardened again. "Forgiveness is not enough. You cannot undo what was done." He fell to his knees. "I will do anything." "Anything?" she asked softly. "Even if it means giving up yourself?" Lucien hesitated. He had always been the man who took, who commanded, who feared nothing. But now he understood the meaning of sacrifice. I will," he whispered. Elena's face softened slightly, but before he could reach her, the ground beneath him shifted. Shadows rose from the gray soil, forming into creatures of pain and regret. They moved silently, circling him, blocking his path. Lucien rose to his feet, fists clenched. "I don't care what you are." "Step aside!" The shadows did not move. Instead, they whispered, reminding him of every cruel word, every moment he neglected her, every time he chose ambition over love. Lucien staggered back, chest heaving, the whispers cut deeper than any blade. Elena floated a few steps away. "You cannot fight this," she said. "Not with your strength, not with your fear, only with truth." Lucien stared at her. "Truth? Yes," she said. "The truth of your heart, the truth of your choices, the truth of your love, or lack of it." He closed his eyes, memories crashing over him. He remembered nights when she waited in silence, hoping he would notice her pain. He remembered the moment she asked him to stay home and talk, and he turned away. He remembered the soft smile she gave, hiding fear and sorrow behind warmth. Tears filled his eyes. I see it now. I see everything. "I was wrong. I love you." "I always did. I just didn't know how to show it." Elena stepped closer. Her misty form seemed to shimmer, a little more solid. "Then prove it," she whispered. Lucien reached for her hand. The shadows surged, lashing at him with cold fingers of darkness. He cried out but did not let go. Each shadow that touched him carried pain and memories, forcing him to relive his mistakes. He screamed with every touch, but he held on. "Elena," he shouted, "I will not fail you again." Slowly the shadows began to dissolve. The more he admitted, the more he accepted, the weaker they became. He felt his powerlessness, his guilt, his pride fall away, piece by piece. At last only Elena remained, waiting silently. Lucian fell to his knees before her. "I will never leave you alone again," he said, voice breaking. "I will follow you wherever you are. I will carry your pain. I will face the darkness if it means you are safe." Elena's eyes glistened. "You must be certain," she said softly, "because the realm does not forgive the uncertain." Lucian nodded. "I am certain. More than anything, I am certain." Her hand reached toward him. Their fingers touched. A warmth spread from the contact, pushing away the cold shadows. For a moment, Lucian thought she would return with him to the world of the living. But the ground beneath them cracked. A deep voice rumbled from the darkness. "You dare challenge the law of this realm?" A massive shadow rose, taller than any building Lucian had ever seen. Its eyes glowed red. Its presence filled the sky. "To take her from me, you must pay the price." Lucian took a step forward, placing himself between Elena and the creature. "I will pay," he said. "You will give yourself," the shadow said, "or you will lose her forever." Lucian's chest tightened. He had faced death countless times, but this was different. This was choice, sacrifice. Everything he had built, everything he had taken, it all meant nothing now. He looked at Elena. Her eyes were filled with fear, sorrow, and hope. "I am ready," he whispered. The shadow roared, and the ground shook violently. Wind tore at his clothes and hair. But Lucian did not move. He stood firm, holding Elena's hand tightly. "You may enter life again," the shadow said slowly, its voice echoing like thunder, "but only if your soul is pure and your heart is willing to bear the weight of love and regret together." Lucian swallowed the fear rising in his throat. "I bear it," he said firmly. "Every piece of it. I will carry it forever." The shadow hesitated, then receded into darkness. The gray mist began to lift. Light seeped into the wasteland. Shapes of lost souls vanished, and silence returned. Lucian looked around. He was still in the strange realm, but now it felt different. Softer, less hostile. The air smelled faintly of spring. Elena's form became clearer. She looked almost real again. Her hand still held his. Lucian bowed his head. "I will never take you for granted again. Never." Elena nodded. "I believe you," she whispered. "But there is one final trial." Lucian frowned. "Trial?" She stepped back. "To return, you must walk through the gates of the Veil alone. I will follow, if you prove your courage." Lucian looked at the distant doorway shimmering with light. He hesitated. Every instinct in his body screamed danger. Every part of him feared losing her again. But he had come this far. He had faced his guilt, his shame, his fear. He would not turn back now. "I will go," he said. "Alone, if I must. I will not let you fade." Elena smiled faintly. "Then I will wait for you." Beyond the gate. Lucian took a deep breath and stepped forward. The light of the veil grew brighter, almost blinding. Shadows clawed at him one last time, but he pushed through, focusing only on the promise he made to her. He felt the world shift around him. Time and space blurred. Pain and memory struck him like lightning. He stumbled, but he did not fall. A single thought kept him moving. Elena, she is waiting. I cannot fail. Finally, he crossed the threshold. The light swallowed him completely. For a heartbeat he felt nothing, no body, no mind, no world. And then he was somewhere new. The gray mist of the spirit realm had faded. In its place stretched a vast expanse of light and shadow, shifting like water. The air was warm yet heavy, carrying the scent of rain and earth. It was beautiful and terrifying. He felt himself alone, yet not. A gentle pull guided him forward. Somewhere ahead, Elena waited. Lucian's steps were careful. Every step reminded him of the lessons he had learned, of guilt, regret, and the weight of neglect. He had come here to reclaim her, but he now understood the cost. To save her, he had to let go of his power, his pride, and the man he once was. "Lucian," a soft voice called. He turned, and there she was. Elena stood on a small rise, her form now brighter, more real than before. Yet she seemed distant, caught between this world and the last. Her eyes met his, and for the first time in years, Lucian felt hope bloom inside his chest. "Elena," he whispered, running toward her. She raised a hand to stop him. "Not so fast," she said. "You must prove you are ready." Lucian stopped, breathing heavily. "I am ready. I will do whatever it takes." Elena studied him for a long moment. "This realm tests the heart, not the body. To leave, you must confront the part of yourself you have hidden, the pride, the fear, the selfishness. You must surrender all and accept love with courage." Lucian swallowed hard. He had spent his life commanding others, bending them to his will. He had feared weakness more than death itself, but now weakness was his only tool. Only surrender could bring her back. "I surrender," he said. "I surrender my pride, my power, my fear. I surrender everything except my love for you." Elena's eyes softened, then stepped forward and walked through the gate of truth. A glowing doorway appeared before them. Light spilled across the ground like molten gold. Shadows twisted around the edges, whispering memories of pain and anger. Lucian's heart pounded. The whispers spoke of every cruel word, every night he ignored her loneliness, every choice he made for power over love. He could feel the shadows pressing against him, trying to pull him back. But he reached for Elena's hand. Her fingers were warm, grounding him. "I am ready," he whispered. The shadows surged once more, but Lucian did not resist. He embraced them, letting every memory of his failure wash over him. Pain, shame, and sorrow filled him, but he held Elena's hand tightly, letting love guide him through the darkness. The light of the gate grew brighter. The shadows began to dissolve, screaming into the void. Lucian felt himself stretched, tested, broken, and then rebuilt by the truth of his own heart. At last he crossed the threshold. He stumbled, gasping for breath. The world around him shifted. The gray mist, the shadows, and the whispers were gone. Instead, he saw the city, but not as he had left it. It was quiet, soft, and calm. The streets were empty. The sky above shimmered with colors he had never seen, like twilight painted with gold and silver. And then he saw her. Elena stood on the steps of their mansion, fully alive, her eyes shining with tears. She looked real, stronger than ever, yet delicate as if the ordeal had left its mark. She ran to him. "Lucian!" she cried, throwing herself into his arms. He held her tightly, feeling her warmth, her breath, her heartbeat. "I will never leave you again," he whispered. She pulled back slightly, searching his eyes. "Do you mean it?" "I mean it with every piece of me," he said. "I will carry our love, not my empire. I will protect you, not fear you. I will be the man you deserve." Elena's tears fell freely, but she smiled. "Then we are free." For a moment they simply held each other, standing in the soft light, feeling the quiet strength between them. But even in this moment of peace, Lucian felt something stir deep in the shadows. He had survived the realm of sorrow, but the world he returned to still bore the echoes of his old life. He looked around. The city was silent. The empire he had ruled with fear and power was gone. Allies, enemies, titles, they no longer mattered. Only Elena mattered. Only their future mattered. "I have no throne," he said softly.
"You don't need one," she replied.
"You have me." Lucian looked down at her, and for the first time he felt the weight of love instead of power. It was lighter, yet stronger than anything he had known. They walked together toward the mansion. Every step felt like a new beginning. The air was filled with the faint scent of rain and earth, a promise of renewal. Inside, the mansion was quiet but warm. The walls no longer felt oppressive. Shadows no longer whispered secrets of fear. The space that had once been a prison of ambition now felt like a home. Lucian knelt before Elena. "Teach me to love the way you deserve," he said. Elena reached for his face. "We will learn together," she said. Days passed. The city began to stir again, but Lucian no longer sought control. He let his enemies and allies rebuild as they wished. He focused only on Elena, on healing the wounds of the past, and on becoming the man worthy of her love. Even the shadows from the other realm seemed to fade with time. Only a faint echo remained, a reminder that redemption was earned, not given. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Lucian and Elena stood on the balcony of their mansion. The city lights twinkled below like distant stars. Elena rested her head on his shoulder. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. Lucian shook his head.
No! Losing you taught me more than any victory, any empire, any power.
"You are my life now, and I will never waste it again." She smiled softly. "Then we are truly free." A gentle wind swept past, and for a moment the world seemed to hold its breath. Shadows whispered faintly at the edges of the city, but Lucian and Elena no longer feared them. They had faced darkness together. They had survived. They had been reborn. And in the quiet that followed, only love remained.